Professor Warren, thank you so much for joining us here on iVillage.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we want to hear from some members of our community, including our iVoices, our everyday women who are contributing to iVillage and who have some questions for you.
Hi, I'm Sharon from New York. Can you explain how the new Consumer Protection Agency is going to be helping out kids who are applying for student loans to pay for college?
Sharon, good question. So here's the answer. There are two major kinds of student loans. There are those that are direct loans from the government, and then there are those that are private loans. Let's just be blunt. The ones that are direct loans from the government, cheaper, better loans, more protection for the borrower, just all around a better place to be. What had happened in the past, over the past decade or so, is that a lot of federal money goes into student lending. Part of it went to direct loans to students, and a big part of it went over to the private industry, so that they would then add their own fees and costs and so on and lend it out to students. So we had this sort of direct competition. One of the changes that was made shortly after President Obama took office was to shift that money back. Same total number of dollars available for student lending, but more of it in direct loans from the government. They said, we're just not going to be in the private, we're not helping the private lenders here. So this becomes the critical feature. Now, this agency is going to work on ways to make sure that students know this and know it in advance, because let's face it, the private loan industry spends a lot of money advertising, out there talking about this, not
Kids
the
can
direct
see
loans.
very quickly on their computer, need 45 grand,
Here,
fill
here,
out this
here.
application and you get it. So what will your agency do to educate those consumers so that they don't go down a path that might not be affordable for them and their families?
Partly it will be about education, and we're going to push on that. Another part that I just want to raise as a possibility is about talking directly with the schools themselves, about making sure that the schools, before they're taking money from the private lenders on behalf of students, have advised the students about their opportunities with federal lenders.
Let me get one more question here from one of our fabulous iVoices.
Hi, I'm Beth Engelman. I'm a single mom, and I have a small mortgage on my house, or it's sort of big for me. But I'm wondering, how are you going to help the average person like me become more protected against predator lenders?
So one of the main initiatives from the new consumer agency is going to be how to make it easier to shop for a mortgage. Right now, we've got a ton of paperwork that comes to consumers mostly right at the time of closing. Sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. Nobody can read it. Nobody can understand large parts of it. And frankly, again, that's what much of it is designed to do. What we're going to push for is to cut down the paperwork at closing on the mortgage and instead try to get a one-page mortgage shopping sheet that carries the basic information that you need in order to decide whether or not you can afford this mortgage, and that gives you the opportunity to compare one mortgage with 2 or 3 others. What we think that's going to do is it's, once again, going to empower consumers to be able to make good financial decisions on their own behalf and drive this market toward real competition.
Republicans have also said they want to roll back many Wall Street reforms. So will some of the things that you want to do, that you think are important to protect the American people from these risky mortgage practices that may have gotten us into this problem in the first place, is some of that in jeopardy?
It may be in jeopardy. And all I can say is I'm going to keep fighting. And the families who fought for the creation of this consumer agency so they would have a voice, so they could enter marketplaces that are just fair, just level playing fields. Nobody's looking for a handout, just a fair deal here. That those families are going to come in and help us in that fight.
Is it true? Are you a daughter of a janitor? Is that right? And you had said that you started thinking about money as a very young child. How did that experience, or let me ask you, how does that experience help you in terms of helping set up this new consumer agency?
It's a good question. I guess because for me, it's not just about the dollars per se. what fee or how somebody got put into the wrong mortgage or how you ended up being trapped in a credit card. That money is about security and it's about worry. A family in financial stress is a family that worries. It's about, I can remember my mother, who every time she thought one of us was sick, would put her hand on us as she's checking for fever, as my mom always did. And then she'd always stop to do the calculation on how big the doctor bill was. And so the question about whether or not to call the doctor was a plus or minus on where we stood financially. And so when I think about what it would mean just to help families be a little more secure financially, just to move them back a little from the cliff where so many families have to live right now, I think about not just what that means for their balance sheet or their bank accounts. I think about what it means for their lives. Ultimately, money isn't what life should be about. It isn't what family should be about. The absence of money becomes a monster in the room. If you can kind of get that under control, if you know you've got enough to cover the basics and you're not being surprised, then you get to live your life about the things you want to live your life about. That's how it should be. I hope that's what our agency is able to help with.